Hello, everybody, and welcome back. This is Alex from the Marx Engels Lenin Institute, and today I am joined by two German comrades to discuss with me the situation in Germany, both with regard to the internal political situation and, of course, the role that the German ruling class plays within the US-dominated imperialist system. So I will first ask two comrades, Alex and Max, to introduce themselves and also talk about the organization you're part of in Germany and the kind of work that your organization does, please.
Well, thank you first of all for having us, and I'm Max, and together with Alex, we are organized in the communist organization. We've been at your show. I think it was in September, October, around our congress that we've then organized, the Communism Congress, which is one big pillar of our work. The communist organization does. I mean, we can also go along a little later, tell about what we're doing, because it is referring, of course, to the current developments of German imperialism, which we try to better understand in a comprehensive way from a Marxist perspective. So the process of like communist clarification and finding the right lines of the class struggle is an important pillar of ours, and the Congress that we've been talking about last time is just one element to do so. But besides that, of course, we're quite active in the actual struggle, like on the streets recently, especially around the question of support for Palestine and the Palestine resistance. But I think we're going to talk about that anyway. So, first of all, I think that's okay.
Okay. Alex, did you have anything to add?
No, thanks.
Okay. Well, we will proceed on with what Max was just talking about then, which is, I think for many of our viewers who are principally based in the English-speaking countries, my own country, known across the world as perfidious Albion, and the United States and Australia, the question of the role of Germany within the US imperialist system is one that I think would benefit from some elucidation by German comrades, because a lot of not the communists, but the broader left in Britain have what I would see as a false image of Germany. They still see Germany as some sort of 1970s social democratic paradise where Willy Brandt is still chancellor or something. And this, having spoken to and been to Germany myself a number of times, I know that that's not true. So can you start off, comrades, by talking about what is the reality of the capitalism within Germany today, and what role does Germany play within a US-dominated imperialist system?
All right, I might start, and please feel free to add and also interfere, Alex and Alex. So yeah, we've actually been quite familiar with this kind of image that is portrayed of Germany, which is actually also wrong for the era of the 1970s, where we had a massive repression of progressive forces like occupational bans and whatsoever ongoing at that time. But anyways, even also for now, of course, that's a wrong image. Germany is very much aligned with the NATO and US imperialism on their aggressive warfare. But in general, the question of relation between Germany and US imperialism is one that sparked quite big debates also in the German communist movement and the progressive movement up until now. The question arose, in what way is German sovereign in their own policies, or is it more or less a full vessel of US imperialism? And it does play a quite big role, of course, for the direction of struggle that we give, or for the demands that we have. If is there something progressive in the direction of struggle of emancipation from US imperialism in the realm of German finance capital? And yeah, this discussion is definitely an ongoing one. I would describe it also in our organization, by the way, but I would describe it as yeah, a relation that is rivalry and partnership at the same time, more or less. Yeah, this is the US, of course, did have a great interest to stop the Eurasian integration, as it did oppose a relevant economic threat to US imperialism, which we could see, I think, most prominently with the Nord Stream 2 bombing. And but if it comes to the overall survival of the US, of the imperialist system, and which is under US hegemony, I think the interests do align. And Germany is yeah, the interest of the survival of the imperialist system is a common interest. And this has many reasons. One might be that the German finance capital is deeply intertwined with the US imperialism. Of course, it's a great market, but it's also had a great history of integration after the Second World War, especially. And mainly also Germany and the US, they are not able to provide the capacities of military and financial instruments that are necessary to yeah, protect their imperial role in the world. So that is definitely something that the US always took care of, that that Germany and the EU are bound to NATO and the military forces that are supplied by the US. So yeah, this is more or less, I think, the overall relationship, which is contradictory, of course. And there is lots of talk also in the German elites of the finance capital and the politicians who are actually agitating for a more sovereign role of German imperialism, which does have a great history of not great in a good sense, but a great history of yeah, a strong finance capital, of course, and it still has this strong finance capital, and they are urging for it to be more sovereign and trying to transform both militarily and also economically the structures to be able to be more sovereign. If that works out or not, I think is a point of further discussion, but for now, I think they are very much aligned with US imperialism to save the yeah, the hegemonic role in total. Yeah.
I would like to add that this debate Max has pointed out now is led very is a very big debate now in Germany in the bourgeois press and in the radio, because many politicians and also people from the monopoly bourgeoisie, they are debating the question: what will happen if Trump wins the wins the election in this year? Question: what can we, like in the sense of Germany, still rely on the United States with their military support in Europe? What will happen if USA turns back into a more protectionist politics? And these people are debating openly that, as Max pointed out already, we have to find, like Germany has to find some alternative ways out of this very strong transatlantic dependency. And this is very interesting if we take a look, but that will be another question, I guess, in this interview. If we take a look on far right-wing parties like AfD and also the new founded party of Sara Wagenknecht, but I think it's another question, right?
Yes, I'll come to both of those later on. But I've been recalling the post World War II settlement with regard to the role that US imperialism played in reconstructing the European imperialist powers to a degree. So in my own country, of course, there was enormous loans made in order to keep British capitalism afloat because it was bankrupt and would have fallen apart after World War II without US capital being injected. You also had the same thing through the Marshall Plan in France and Germany, or West Germany as it was then, which was to recreate these capitalist powers but at the same time make it so that they couldn't threaten the overall US control. And so it seems to me that what has happened with both Germany and especially France is that a lot of the bourgeoisie in all of, certainly some of the bourgeoisie in Britain and in Germany and France expected Europe, as in the EU, to play a more independent role after the collapse of socialism in 1991. And this hasn't really happened. US domination over the European Union and over France and Germany has continued up to this point in time. So it seems that the comment made by Stalin in the early 1950s, which was that America had put Europe on rations, has proven to be correct. That the illusions of the especially the liberal end of the bourgeoisie across Europe have all been proven wrong, and without American military backing, as you were implying in your answers, the ability of France and Germany and other powers to impose the imperialist system, particularly on African nations and other nations, is much reduced. So I wondered what you thought about those points and the idea that you mentioned in your answer, Alex, that there is a chance for German imperialism to go its own way. Looking at what's happened with British imperialism and the attempts to go its own way under Brexit, all it's done is tie us even further to the United States. So this hasn't gone well. The British capitalism, British imperialism is not strong enough to go its own way anymore. It doesn't have the military capability or the industrial capability. So can you comment further on those points, please?
Well, maybe first of all, I think it's an ongoing debate, so it's not like final answers or analysis that we have that we are able to provide, but we are eager to proceed this discussion. I think there were some attempts actually by the EU and Germany, especially after 1990, to go further for a more sovereign stand, you know, like the introduction of the euro, the EU currency. They also tried several times to establish an European army, which they failed to do. But these things definitely were points where the US were quite heavily opposed to. And there are other examples. I think the war in Yugoslavia, where Germany was taking a very forefront stand, and the US had also to go in to be able to secure their prominent role in Eastern Europe. So I think I would agree with the overall assessment that you give. But in general, I just want to, like, the point that I want to make is that there still is the urge of German finance capital to take a more relevant role in the world, and this urge is not gone, you know. And German imperialism does play, especially when we look at Europe itself, of course, a very hegemonic role, especially using the workforce of Eastern Europe or the low labor cost of Eastern Europe to provide its economical like model, so to say. So it does play a role of subordination itself, and this is just something that living in Germany and conducting class struggle in Germany is something that we still have to remind ourselves on, and that the demand or the pathway of a more sovereign German state is heavily linked to an actually very reactionary cause by the German finance capital. Yeah, this is just something to keep in mind, I guess. But
Yes.
in general, I agree that they are not capable of doing it the way they want. They maybe would like to. Yeah.
You can not only see this urge by Germany's economic role in Europe, but also by its military role. Like some weeks ago, the German government has decided to send tank brigades to Lithuania, and they try to build up some independent European military maneuvers. They are debating this now also for the Red Sea. So I would say that also by military means, we can see that Germany, through or with the instrument of the European Union, is trying to play an independent role beside the USA. Although we have to see that these plans, for example, the sending of the military battle groups to Lithuania, is also supported by the US. But anyway, we have to see that these are ways of like independent actions of German imperialism. But I would also agree with you that German imperialism can do this only in the, like, I don't know how to say, in borders of what it's possible. Yeah.
Yeah, only within the framework of the US-led imperialist
Exactly.
system. Yes, similar to British imperialism, really. To move then to a question of that imperialist system, which is, of course, the Israeli, what I would call mass murder spree in Gaza and elsewhere. Of course, there is a case going before the International Court of Justice in The Hague accusing Israel of genocide. I mean, my own analysis on that is that these sort of liberal legalistic maneuvers don't have much value except as potential propaganda usage. But one thing that did strike me was the enthusiastic backing of the government of Olaf Scholz for Netanyahu and the Israeli state. Now, I wanted to get your opinions on this, comrades, because this is again subject to a lot of what I would call national myth making, particularly in Britain. It's ascribed to German Holocaust guilt and various other sort of pseudo-psychological analyses that are applied, particularly by the British bourgeois press. And of course, some of the British left engage in this sort of what I would call cod psychology as well. But is it the case then that what I would call the very enthusiastic support by Scholz and other German bourgeois politicians for Israel, is it as a result of Germany's subordinate role within the US imperialist system that has caused this, or are there other factors in play here, do you think?
Well, first of all, I think we got to say that this point of German Schuld and the Holocaust plays a role of propaganda and legitimization of the support. It of course has nothing, isn't rooted in anything material, so to say. On the contrary, of course, is actually the heavy support that we see from the German state is very much intertwined with an anti-Semitic position that also is, of course, put forward with the Zionist entity of Israel itself. So this is more or less just the moral reasoning that is giving heavily and broadly. And we can talk a little bit more about the role that anti-Semitism plays as an instrument also of repression, because it is really really sharpened, so to say. But overall, I would say it is definitely in the interest of German imperialism to also keep their role in West Asia keep their influential role in West Asia, and the usage of Israel as a base for military operations and economic activity in this region. So this is very much, I think, aligned with US imperialism and West European imperialist states. And of course it does play a huge role, I'd say, for also the internal politics of Germany, using this as a way to split the working class, as a backing for a very racist debate that's ongoing, as a backing for an much more racist refugee policy and migrant policy. So all of this is very useful for German imperialism right now. That's, I think, the more or less material base for the heavy support of Germany. Yeah.
Alex, do you have anything to add there?
No.
I wanted to raise one other question, comrades, which is the desire of the German ruling class to erase completely the legacy of the socialist Germany, because of course you have the anti-imperialist legacy of the DDR and the progressive role that it played in anti-imperialist struggles in Africa and the Middle East. But you also have the West German progressive movement of the later 60s and 1970s, which, as we were discussing earlier, Max, was very savagely repressed by the Federal Republic of Germany, West Germany. So is a little bit of this also about the desire of the German ruling class to make sure that all the progressive legacies of recent German history are just completely erased and buried?
Well, definitely. I think I would even go further. It's not only about the legacy of socialist GDR and like progressive movements in West Germany as well, but in all, overall, it's a massive attack on the working class movement that we have seen ongoingly. Like the ideological instrument that is very heavily connected to the narrative of anti-Semitism and the like legacy of the Federal Republic of Germany providing for the right to exist for Israel and so on. This is very heavily been influencing the whole liberal left, also autonomous groups. After 1990, there was an ongoing still a heavy influence of this idea, which really was a heavy backlash for anti-imperialist forces, and it is up until today. Like the big support that we can see in Great Britain, also throughout the trade unions, is something that is quite far away for us here. Like the trade unions are very much integrated in this overall narrative and strategy. So it is a very heavy strike against the working class movement in a whole. Yeah.
Mm. Alex, did you want to add anything to that?
Well, I think also your question was about the eradicating the GDR memories, right?
Yeah, and the also the legacy of progressive movements and communist activity in the West as well.
Yeah. I would like to say that the aggressive eradication of any GDR history and of the benefits the GDR had for the anti-imperialist struggles and for the German working class is made because the people here in Germany have very good, especially in East Germany, have very good connections to GDR. They remember that it was a very good time with labor, and that from the German ground there was that the GDR army didn't provoke any wars, and this is why the imperialist propaganda made this very aggressive anti-GDR course, and this is still until today goes into contradiction with the memories the people have here. And so especially for us here, like I'm living here in East Germany, is a very important part of our propaganda to remember what GDR did meant for the working class here and the anti-imperialist struggles for peace.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. I mean, they go out of their way to erase even the memories of class struggle in this country. But it seems that Germany, along with the other former people's democracies, Poland especially, but Bulgaria as well, have this. The ruling class has a fanatical desire to erase the socialist period. For their class, it is a nightmare because there was this period in living memory where capitalism was erased, where their class was out of power. And to them, I think it haunts them a great deal, the idea that this could come back at some point, especially now. It is undoubtedly the case that German capitalism is in a crisis, that if German capitalism goes into a deep economic crisis, that will mean most of the EU does as well. So I think the anti-communism we're seeing across Germany and the East, and it's coming here now, is a fear of the gigantic crisis that is developing. And that leads me to my next question with regard to the German domestic situation, which is that you see, well, certainly I've seen through social media, a lot of more violent repression carried out by German police of certainly pro-Palestine demonstrations. But you also seem to have an escalating industrial struggle going on in Germany, and other struggles such as those involving like the German farmers movement and things like that. So I wondered if you could give an overview, comrades, of the situation in Germany with regard to what appears to be a deteriorating economic picture for German capitalism, and how this is fueling the different struggles that are occurring within Germany today.
Okay, we can try. That's of course a big question or a big field.
Take it in whatever direction you want to.
Okay, maybe to start off, I think it is important to understand, like maybe to give a little bit of context, like from the Chancellor of Germany, Olaf Scholz, had like this big important speech in February 2022, where he was calling for, in German it's called Zeitenwende, which is something like a turning point in history or an epochal disruption or something, where he is very much opening up for the transition that German imperialism has to go through under the context of, I would agree, overall the crisis of the imperialist hegemonic powers. And it has several tendencies or several necessities. On the first one is, of course, a heavy militarization and rise in capability of fighting big wars. And the other one is, of course, an economic transition that Germany has to go through, which is a transition in their energy supply, which is a transition in also getting back some of the production industry, and also being able to produce more sovereign and not being so dependent on especially China and Russia and so on. And these kind of transitions, also the rise in military power and the economic transition, of course, have their effects on the way that the German state is able to integrate the working class. First of all, economically, yeah, it is. We are seeing heavy cuts besides inflation that's going on since 2022, which is really lies heavily on the working class population, and the rise in rent costs and blah blah blah. You've all seen that in Britain as well, I guess. But they are doing heavy cuts now for their state budget in every sector, but the military sector, of course. And this is, I think, gives the overall circumstances for a more active protest movement all around in the different fields. And it does show that the German state is not able to integrate with other mechanisms anymore, but has to rather transform into a more repressive way of assuring their power. And most heavily, we see that with the Palestinian protest. I want to say some words about it, because it's really massive and in a way very absurd what we're seeing in Germany right now. Like, we have the bands of organizations, of course, which you have probably heard of. Samidun network, like Palestinian Prisoners Network, has been banned, and also Hamas has been especially banned in Germany. So the whole resistance of Palestine is being criminalized, and this, of course, lies heavily on the solidarity movement, which is now repressed with anything that ties them to the resistance of Palestine. We have seen bans of demonstration, rallies, slogans, symbols, and heavy raids also with activists, also with just comments on social media, like the police is going in and raiding their apartments. So this is I think the situation. And at the same time, of course, the support, Germany's support for Palestine is for Israel, sorry, is massively growing. Like the sending for weaponry is like, I think it's tenfolds, like up until over 300 million or something. The weaponry have been shipped over to Israel just after October the 7th. And the security of Israel is declared to be a fundamental national interest, which is also included juridically, like the citizenship. If you want to apply for the German citizenship, you need to acknowledge Israel's right to exist now, at least in some parts, which is fucking absurd. And they also connected to deport migrants and refugees with no German citizenship. If they are involved in any pro-Palestinian activities, they might be in danger of being deported or not being able to apply for asylum and so on. Like, it's also culturally in the educational system, in schools, it's so heavily put downward, and in every inch of the society they try to build this front of which is, I don't know, Gesinnungsjustiz. I think it's policing around political positions. You know, that's not just done by the police or by the state, but also by any other non-state actor, so to say, prolonging the arm of the police. And the media plays a very heavy role in this also, to prepare for persecution, so to say. Like they go to the demos and they ask people about their opinion, and like naive people say something, whatever they think, and afterwards they got persecuted by police or something. So it's a good working network, so to say, state actors, non-state actors, media, and so on, who are very heavily proceeding in this atmosphere of repression, which of course is aimed to split the solidarity movement.
Yes.
But I think they are doing this so heavily and so aggressively that it is seen. It can be seen from outsiders that there's something wrong with it. It's not really working out. And this is, of course, also opportunity for us to actually organize around that, build unity, and see the role of the German state more clearly outlined. Yeah.
I would also say that this is like since the beginning of Russia's military operation, we see a very significant change of how Germany is repressing political movements. As Max already said, the repression goes into like, it's about your political position. Like 5 or 6 years ago, most of repression against leftist groups was because of some militant actions or something. And nowadays it's more because of political positions. For example, you can say like, oh, maybe Israel should not bomb too harsh Gaza. They should take more care about the civilian people. Is it right to send weapons to Ukraine? Maybe it doesn't help or something. But if you answer the question, how do you see the resistance? How do you see Hamas? Do you distance from Hamas? And you answer no, then you get into really serious problems. So the split is about your political stance, and this is a very big problem because the peace movement, for example, we are acting here in our city. We support the peace movement, and many activists who are not communist or leftist but just peace activists, they say, okay, the first thing we have to do now if we want to criticize Israel is that we distance from Hamas. And it's very difficult to explain these people that this is the question, this is the pistol German imperialism is pointing on your breast. And if you say, no, I don't distance from Hamas, you are not, you will get very harsh repression. And all humanistic critique to Israel is not legitimized. I wanted just to add something to your point, Max, about the costs the German imperialist politics is bringing to the working class, because you said it was only the military sector who has been supported with subsidies. It's not only the military sector. It was, of course, with 100 billion euros is the biggest one, but they also supported German monopolists and German very big companies, because you remember, like 1.5 years ago, I guess, the USA made this Inflation Reduction Act, and this led to the situation that big German capitalist or capital said that if Germany is not changing its economic politics, we will go to the US because there's better conditions for us to accumulate capital. And this is why a German government made the so-called bazooka. They called it really like this. They supported with very big money the companies. And this is another reason why German government is now like saying no. The German working class has to pay for this. Yeah.
Well, it's what seems to be happening in Germany is a similar picture to what is happening here, which is that the fact that we live in a dictatorship of the bourgeoisie becomes more and more obvious as time goes on. Like you were describing, Max, the way in which the media and non-state actors conspire to report people to the authorities who have expressed opinions of which the state does not approve. We saw that is broadly speaking, how our comrades at the weekend were arrested because it was non-state actors, so-called freelance journalists, activists who were photographing the material and sending it to the Metropolitan Police on Twitter and saying, "Oh, you should arrest these people," you know, and it. Normally, what the British ruling class likes to do is to make sure that these movements, such as anti-war movements, remain led by pacifists and ultimately tied to the leadership of the trade union movement and also the Labour Party. And in that way, the British ruling class knows very well that they can be sort of pushed into a dead end. You walk around London with a placard, you sing, "We shall not be moved" or something, and then you go home, and that's it. What seems to be happening is that some of the ruling class have become panicked over the numbers on the streets and also about the declining power of the bourgeois press. And they are now screaming for more and more open repression in Britain. Which is interesting because that's a departure from the last 20 to 30 years, where they have targeted their repression very specifically at isolated communities within the working class. So Muslims, for instance, over the last 20 years. They haven't tried the kind of mass repression that might have been common in the past. So we're clearly into a different phase of the struggle now, it would seem. But I wanted to follow on to ask another question about the internal politics in Germany, which is the developments on both what you might call the traditional left and the right in Germany, which is the new organization headed by Sara Wagenknecht, Sara Wagenknecht, I think it's called, and the AfD on the right side of things. So I wondered if you could, comrades, comment on the Wagenknecht organization first. This, according to research I've done, seems to have developed out of a split in the old Left Party, which has been disintegrating for many years. And I read Wagenknecht's initial policy statements. It seems to be what I view as a sort of reactionary utopian belief that old West German social democracy can be recaptured somehow. But what is your opinion on that?
Yeah, interesting, interesting wording actually. They refer on Willy Brandt time in the 70s in Germany. I would like to, before we come to the actual political positions of Sara Wagenknecht, I would shortly introduce how was the history of the PDS and the party Die Linke.
Yes.
Yeah, the PDS is the following party of the SED, the Socialist Unified Party or something from GDR, and stands in the tradition of counter-revolutionary and anti-Stalinist traditions in the SED. But after the counter-revolution, the founded PDS was still quite successful, especially in East German regional parliaments and East German regions, because the former members of this party were quite very well embedded in Eastern German population, like the people here. You know, they knew their SED cadres, they were quite familiar with each other still. So, on the other hand, the PDS party was kind of a social democratic party who was always standing for the social rights of the East German population, which has been diminished after the counter-revolution by privatizing the socialist companies and so on. And I think that was the situation in the 90s. And in 2005, we had a very interesting situation in Germany. Maybe you remember that in 2005, we had these reforms in the employment market in Germany made by the Social Democratic Green government under the leadership of Gerhard Schröder. And these reforms led to a very strong and very harsh sanction regime against the workless people and at all the working class. Germany wanted to formate a low-wage sector in order to create a more successful export industry with a high productivity and relatively low wages. And that meant very big problems for the working class, of course. And at this time, very big social movements formed in Germany. There was very big protests, very big demonstrations against politics. And there was an organization called WASG that was something like a party who stood for social justice. And at this time, the PDS and this party merged together to the party Die Linke, the left. And in this time, they were quite successful. They had very good results in the elections. But in the following years, especially I would say in the last 10 years, this party developed a kind of left liberalization. The party left the political questions of social justice, of workers' rights. More they went into identity politics and focusing on urban young voters in the big cities of Germany. So this character of being a so-called anti-establishment party diminished more and more. They became more and more left liberal party. And especially in the last 10 years and very extremely since 2 years, this party openly became a pro-NATO party. They are supporting Israel now, and they even support Ukraine now. There are very high politicians in this party. For example, Bodo Ramelow, he is the prime minister of Thuringia. How's Thüringen? I think Thuringia, right? It's a part of Germany, and he stands for weapon deliveries to Ukraine. So the party developed in this way, and many people in Eastern Germany are very. This is why many people in Eastern Germany are very unhappy with this development. And Sara Wagenknecht, who was always the leftist part in this party, says now that the extreme war course in the leftist party and the German government, and the anti-social politics must stop. And this is why she's very famous, especially here in Eastern Germany. And yeah, this led to a split in this party. And Sara Wagenknecht, with some other politicians from the left party Die Linke, founded the Bündnis Sara Wagenknecht. It means in English the
Alliance.
Alliance Sara Wagenknecht. Yeah, but as you have already said, there is a very important reactionary part in this new party. I would just want to bring some quotes. Seven Dadelin, for example, is a politician in this party, said that pro-Palestine activists who are not distancing from the resistance, who are not distanced from Hamas, should be judged by a court. So she demands very harsh repressions against us and all pro-Palestinian activists. They said that solidarity with Israel is, of course, a German state reason, and they also say that the so-called imperialist war of Russia against Ukraine has no justification. Actually, they stand against the sanctions, the European and German sanctions against Russia, but their argument is not that Germany should not lead a war against Russia. Their argument is that they say that these sanctions don't harm Russia, so they don't serve their purpose harming Russia, and they are only harming Germany. And this is a very, very big difference, you know, because it's like a pro-German imperialist national stance, and not a critique against German government leading war against Russia. So I would say that if you concentrate on their political position, clear that they are maybe a real alternative for German imperialism, needing to get more independent from USA. Very, as we said in the beginning of this interview, very big parts of German ruling class are demanding for another course, another politics about China and Russia, and getting more independent from US, because, yeah, as we said, maybe Germany cannot rely on the US. And I think that Sara Wagenknecht is exactly saying this. And we will have to see that maybe this party will get a real alternative government alternative for the German working class. Yeah, maybe Max, you would like to add.
Maybe just a few things, and not to make it too long, but yeah, as you said, it definitely at least opened, like the party of Wagenknecht opens up as a possibility for an alternative pathway for German imperialism and the national bourgeoisie of Germany, and that is maybe rather interested in cooperative relations towards Russia, and they do not stand in harsh opposition to the German working class, especially German ruling class, especially in case of Palestine. This is very visible, I'd say. I'm in contact with several people who are following this party and are interested and sympathizing with it, and it's quite interesting what they are saying, because it really, in my position at least, shows the opportunistic character of this party, because they are really going for this party as a tactical move, you know, to make an build an electoral party, so you are able to move away the voters of the right-wing AfD to this party, and then I don't know. They don't have any plans for that, but this is more or less like their tactical idea to do so. And they consider themselves communist, whatever they mean with that. But so the general approach is very opportunistic. It is very electoral. It has no idea of actually building a movement and being rooted deeply in the working class. And politically, with its program, I'd say it's written and directed so broadly as it is to be able to include all also bourgeois elements that are there.
Well,
Yeah.
it reminded me of old left-wing Labour Party writings, reading through the program, and it reminded me a little bit of basically like the experience we had with the Corbyn project in Britain, which was basically an argument that British imperialism could be run better and could be run in a more humane manner, and there should be more of the benefits of imperialism should go to the working class. It's essentially an argument to return to the kind of Labour Party that existed in 1945 to 51, essentially, for us. That's the high point of social democracy in Britain. And like this, of course, leads us to the discussion, another discussion about the sort of sovereignist elements within the different ruling classes of the imperialist bloc. You've mentioned that there is a strong and emerging tendency within the German ruling class to want to pilot a more independent course. Now you have a little bit of that in Britain, but we're so integrated with the United States that I don't think that's going to happen here. But what are your opinions, comrades, on this debate within the German ruling class over potential greater sovereignty for them, the German ruling class, and for German imperialism to play a more independent role? Is this something which you regard as being possible within the current balance of forces in Germany, or will it take some more fundamental breakdown of the existing system for this element within the German ruling class to get its way?
Well, that's a difficult question to answer. I'd be honest. Like I'd say it's for now definitely not very possible pathway. But actually, on the contrary, you know, like the Green Party, all the established parties are very deeply tied with the transatlantic strategy of the German finance capital, and I think they are quite they sit well, and they are not like the opposition to this cause is not strong enough, and maybe also not necessary enough right now for the big monopolies to be also reflected in a more with a more broader political spectrum. But of course, on the other hand, like the alternative for Germany, the AfD, is sort of has developed into this kind of political option, I would say, to reflect a more anti-American and more national orientated pathway for German finance capital. Maybe we can also talk a little bit about the AfD, because it is right now there are heavy discussions in German media, also quite absurd actually, about banning the AfD from a very like liberal standpoint, and I don't think they will go through with it. But of course, it's a very absurd idea to secure their political majority, because they also see that there are several elections coming up next year in Germany, and they do see the possibility for the AfD to actually succeed in some of these elections, and it might be also possible that this happens. And they, in whatever way, whatever means necessary, they are trying to to keep that from happening. Anyway, but the AfD, it actually was founded in 2013, I think, as a more or less Euro skeptical and EU skeptical party with also right liberal economic forces. But it sort of developed over the years, especially with the question of refugees and migration and from 2015, and build a much more right wing and wings inside the party, and they got much more influence inside the party up until the point that there's definitely a good like a heavy fascistic tendency in the AfD right now. That's definitely the case, I'd say. And they do stand for in this political option, I'd say, for the German finance capital, for a more anti-US pathway, which is right now not on the table for them, but is an option maybe in the future. And as you said, I guess there's something to be happening that this option is actually a real option on the table. And but it is an option also of it actually is the pathway, at least, of a fascistic regime that is definitely developing, like a possibility for a much more repressive regime of terror internally, and of course a regime also for an imperialist war. And this is as the contradictions in the internationally and the imperialist system are rising, and the crisis of imperialist are rising. I think this option becomes more an option.
Well, certainly it would seem that the both in Germany and in Britain, and I'd say in France as well, I mean the hostility towards what's these very openly reactionary forces from liberal bourgeois elements will all be forgotten if the crisis deepens much further. I think that if things get really bad in Britain, they're going to the bourgeoisie in Britain, which is dominated really by what Lenin referred to as the financial oligarchy. They will require the services of fascism, because what they will need, in talking purely in British terms now, they will need fascism's fake revolution, I think, to re-legitimate the system. They will require a sort of ultra-reactionary figure to come in and carry out some sort of fake revolution against the communists infiltrating academia, or the the elements within the British state which are too influenced by leftism or something. And of course, the real aim would be to destroy effective trade unionism and working class politics. That would be the real aim. So it would seem to me that the AfD represent what in maybe old-fashioned terms is called a reserve force of reaction in Germany. They are there, and the German ruling class wants to keep them in a box for now. But should the situation worsen, I would guess that they will call upon the services of the AfD to carry through that kind of fake fascist-inspired revolution, to at least reunify the German petty bourgeoisie behind the system again.
I think you have put it quite well, but not to forget that it does play a very useful role right now already to sort of move the opposition of the working class, directed in a way that is not actually opposing the German imperialists, and it's actually rather leading to split the working class movement more and more. But on the other hand, it's very visible for the broader masses, I'd say, that the AfD is in many burning questions has the same agenda as the ruling parties, like concerning Israel, for example, but also concerning the farmers' protest, for example. They are also pro cutting the subsidies for farmers and so on. So in looking at the burning questions, it's visible that they are not in actual opposition to these politics. And this is, I would say, an opening for progressive forces, communists, to actually take in this role. And the left party has stopped to play the illusion of this role. And the Bündnis Sara Wagenknecht also is right from the start aligned with many of the corner position of German imperialism. So I do see also there's I want to say I'm also a little bit optimistic, not to be only pessimistic about the situation, as bad as it is, but there is actually a possibility for movements and yeah, developing class consciousness. Yeah.
Yes, certainly. I think that the same is true here in that we've seen a lot of workers over the last 2 years become disillusioned, not just with the Labour Party, that happened a long time ago, but also with trade union leaders who are tied to the Labour Party, who will sell out any struggle if it means aiding the Labour Party leaders. I know it's a slightly different relationship in Germany between the trade unions and the SPD, but I think your trade union leadership is even more institutionalized within the German state than ours is within the British state. But here we see more workers who are outside of the traditional trade unions agitating and starting to move into action. You have a generalized feeling within the working class in Britain of frustration and anger, and no real belief, even in the better off sections of the working class or the lower petit bourgeois, that the current system is working, which is why they may need these sort of pseudo-populist, sort of fake national sovereignty types to come along in the future. But we are in a period of opportunity, and as you say, the reason why they are resorting to more repression now is because there is a fear in the ruling class that the system's energy is running out now, that the crisis cannot be got over. So I think the road ahead does present us with big opportunities in both Britain and Germany now for some serious building work.
Agreed.
I think that's the positive note to end on, comrades. There were other things I wanted to get through, but perhaps you would agree to come back at some point in the near future and we could discuss these various subjects further.
Definitely.
All right. Thank you, comrades, and we'll put the links to your organization's social media channel and website, etc., in the video link. And thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you soon.